Hi. Well, first, a couple of things. First, my accent. I'm not a native English speaker. I'm not using English right now very often, for example. I'm switching between Spanish, Japanese, Portuguese, Italian, and I'm learning Cantonese. So that difficult to, like polish my accent. So and I'm doing this video because the last week I made an English video and 4 hour videos practically. It was like 4 videos talking about the FGC in terms of this essay about how the FGC they are good games but they are not good products. Okay, that they are bad products. And I said that I don't, and because that essay said that the FGC was like shrinking and that there are no new people entering the FGC. And I said some things that, for example, I believe that that essay was written by someone who lives in a bubble, that it lives in a bubble, or that they hate the fighting game that he really liked it. And I said that it may be someone who plays Tekken, or at least Tekken 8. Because it doesn't make sense that this guy said, or that he liked, or he wanted to 2XKO to thrive, for example. And again, for me it was someone that loved Tekken 8, or he wanted to shine, like in 2XKO. Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that he said, for example, that the FGC was shrinking. Because you have, for example, new events on Mexico, on Colombia, on Argentina, on Brazil, on even Paraguay, Uruguay, on Chile. In Japan, they are gathering more people, for example. And my first thought was this was written by someone who is just playing one game and with just one vision. It can be someone from Canada, from the US, from Australia, and it seems that it was from Australia. And right now, because of EVO announcing that they are going to expand more, even more, because it was Japan, it was Las Vegas, it was France. Now, this year, they announced last year Singapore for 2027. And right now, the last day, they announced that they want to go to Morocco, to China, to Saudi, to Brazil, and Mexico. And I saw some comments, and a lot of them were in English, kind of like fighting about this. And I believe that this shows, for example, this shows that the FGC isn't shrinking. I believe that it's shrinking in very specific games, in a very specific places. And not just because of that, because, for example, with that essay, in these 4 hours, and it's like I think it was like 30 minutes, 40 minutes in the English video that I made. That again, and let me tell you some, in the fourth minute of the video, I don't have a production because I think the more important thing in this is practically the opinion. So it's the words that it's been said. So zero production because again it's an opinion that doesn't need like flashing pictures and lights in the video, because you are here because you wanted to hear an opinion. Okay. I said there in that video about, I believe that it's shrinking not just because, for example, again, this is very specific places and very specific games. But I said in that video that it was because the FGC, in terms of, for example, because this is like waves, these are cycles, okay? Between the 2000s, the 90s, then like from 2008 to 9, you get people entering to the FGC. Then it is stalled completely. And I believe that it is stalled not because of the games, because of the mechanics, not because of, but because of the players of the FGC. Because you felt welcome there. You felt welcome even if you have an accent, even if you didn't speak, even if you whatever. And then you have like a couple of years that were completely like, if you don't play like this, if you don't have an opinion like this, if you don't be like this, you are not welcome there. Then, like the thing broke again, so you felt welcome again, for example, and I believe that this happened, for example, with Dragon Ball Fighter C and other games like for those years, Mortal Kombat 11. So these times, for example, it felt again like you're welcome. Play whatever you want. There are a lot of games, a lot of type of games, and you're welcome. Okay, and right now, between 2024 2025, it felt again like you're not welcome anymore. You need to, for example, in the case of Tekken, that I share a story there about, I have a friend that he likes Tekken. He began playing Tekken with Tekken 7. And I played with him. And with Tekken 8, we had some problems, for example, with some YouTube channels, with some Discord places, in which the first problem it was like, you should not play this, you should play that, and in this, in this, in this, and that. Before, for example, in Tekken 7, it was like, play whatever you want, see how it plays, then what you like or you're is interested on playing, play it, okay, and have fun. Right now is no, you have to play this and this way, you have to learn this, and if you don't learn this, you suck, and then you get like those comments. But in this case, we saw and we have comments about our accents, for example. And my friend, for example, he doesn't have a very thick accent, and he decided to, GTFO of here, of this Discord. And we went to a Japanese Discord in which they had, for example, an English part. And again, we are not native English speakers. We are from Mexico, we're from, okay? So going to Japan from people who, we speak a little bit of Japanese, we can read, for example, a lot of katakana, a lot of hiragana, just some kanji, some hiragana, but we have problems, okay? So going there and being welcome, it's something like, why are people like jumping ship of the places that speak English, for example? And by reading this essay and by seeing another videos about people complaining about, there are the views on live streamings, for example, of fighting games are low. People that are interested on videos about the fighting games are low. And I believe that they are low not because of there's no games, there are no gameplay changes, there are no whatever, there are no content like you love to say, for example, about Street Fighter 6. I think it's more about people are feeling this and they are jumping ship. And they are jumping ship because in Spanish there have been a new wave of people that want to talk about the FGC, and they prefer hearing in their own language rather than go to just English. And that's something that with these announcements of the EVO shows that the thing is growing. The problem is that people who were watching, for example, videos in English are jumping ship to their language. And not just because of that, but because, for example, that story that I tell about Tekken 8. It's because whatever you want to have an opinion, you need to replicate the opinion that channel says. And that's something that is I'm just to give you an example. Brazil, it has a very good MK1 scene. There are good players from Chile. There are good players from Argentina in MK1, and it has a really good scene. So they have YouTube channels that are like MK centered. Okay, who, who, what channel do you have, for example, in English? If you want to speak about MK1, they mock you. You know, that doesn't mean that you should, you know, like completely accept what is MK1. No, you can have your opinion and whatever, but in this case, it's like, no, if you don't go and say this, you are not part. And for example, you can see that in MK1, you can see that, for example, in Tekken 8. So that's why people, for example, they get out of there, went out of there. So with these announcements of EVO, having like an event on China, Brazil, Mexico, all these places, the most the most conflicted that I felt with the comments were about Mexico, for example. They are saying like having a lot of events, and especially in Mexico and in Brazil, they are going to make the prestige of EVO go down. And I think that that is BS, because you are going to tell me that EVO had prestige just because it was in Las Vegas? That prestige was because of the players that were there. Okay? And having another events in another places, that doesn't mean that they are not going to go to there anymore. It can be, for example, it can be because, and let me tell you something, that in if I put this, for example, in the table, if they don't go to the EVO Las Vegas, that says something that people have complaining all these years. Going to EVO, it's really expensive. It's really expensive. Even for example, the Mexicans, that we are really near to the US. It's really expensive. Imagine people from Colombia, imagine people from Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay. So having, for example, an event that can be in some way similar and can give some similar vibe of EVO Las Vegas, or in general of EVO, there is going to be something good. But the problem that I see, and I feel that those comments doesn't understand, is that, and they say like, oh, it's going to lose prestige, so you need to centralize between Japan and Las Vegas. But that prestige isn't because it was in Las Vegas. It's because the Japanese players go in there. It's because the Brazilian players go in there. It's because the Pakistani players, sorry, go in there. The Colombian, the Puerto Rican, the Argentinian, all those players, the Mexican go in, for example, there the Chinese go in there. It wasn't because the place. It was because of them. But at the same time, this is going to make something good, because people who have never and can't go there, they can at least have a place to go now that is near, that it can even make people enter the FGC. And that's something that's the way that I feel like conflicted about it, because a lot of that essay, it was because, oh, people are not entering the FGC. Then you have places now, and or you are going to have places to go to play games, to make, like that competitive part of the FGC. But now you complain about it. So I don't understand that. I feel that, and this is began. What I'm going to say, that's the feeling that a lot of people from, for example, from Latam and even from Japan, they are expressing. Okay, it's like the way that you are looking right now, it's if you are from Latam, you need to pay more, you need to do this, that, whatever, and then you go, and then you get mocked. You get mocked. You get laughed at. Practically, you are being used. Of what? Just to make the price bigger. So, with that essay and these comments, for example, about these other EVO places, a lot of Latam, Japan, even in Singapore, in France, that's the comment that they are thinking about you. And again, guess why people doesn't enter to the FGC? It's because of you. It's because of your behavior. It's because you want to other people to go there, just because you want a bigger price. Even, and this is something that is very personal that I said in that video in English about that essay, was, for example, in the cough community, okay? I don't like to say the word community because that word doesn't exist in these cases. Because you don't have a voice. You are a part of a community if you replicate what that community say. So you don't have a voice. Okay? Well, I said that, for example, in COF, you had US players trying to ban people from Mexico, from Colombia, from online matches, saying that, for example, they had lag, they had a horrible connection, they had whatever. But for example, in the same tournament of COF, you have people from France that had worse lag stats, and they said nothing. But at the same time, you have people trying to ban Mexicans, and even people from Colombia, because you don't, and again, this is very personal, it seems that you don't understand geography because you don't know where is Colombia, what is Colombia. That is another country. Where, again, is Colombia? The flag. Because you try to ban Mexicans in a presential tournament of COF, and I'm saying 3 US players trying to ban people from Mexico of COF 15 from ridiculous things as an excuses. But you had people from Colombia at the same time. So you didn't want to ban Mexicans. You wanted to ban the whole Latin America. So a lot of that, like comments about EVO going to Brazil, to Morocco, to China, to the Saudi, to Singapore, to Mexico, right now a lot of people is taking that comments not just as a racist comment. Rather to be happy about, hey, the FGC is growing and this can bring more players, you are pushing your behavior to an extreme. And then you ask why there are no people entering to the FGC. I'm gonna try to end this with this. Rather to be happy, rather than being happy about, for example, Brazil, for the people of the South to have a place to gather, I'm happy. I'm happy that they are going to have a place. I'm happy that, for example, here in Mexico, we are going to have a place to gather in Mexico and to facilitate the people from, for example, Colombia and other countries that are from Central America to come here. Because one of the ridiculous things is the other day I was speaking with a friend that is from Argentina, and he told me I wanted to go to EVO, and then I saw the prices, and then I said, well, if this is the Las Vegas prices, I'm not going to search of Japan. And then he went to and searched the prices for going, for example, for a trip to Japan, and and he saw something that a lot of you don't understand, and you are beginning to kind of understand, but just by yourself, because hey, if Las Vegas is going like it's pricing out, for example, even in the WWE, for example, people, and you are being priced out, imagine from people from outside. But the most ridiculous thing is thinking this, it's a little bit expensive, or a little bit more cheaper to go to the other side of the world, to Japan, have a 7 days trip, 3, 4, 5 days trip, to go to EVO Japan, enter to EVO Japan from Argentina, from Brazil, from Chile, than going to Las Vegas. It's again a little bit cheaper or a little bit expensive. So if you put it like in okay, going to the US, going to Japan. What are going to select the people? They are going to Japan. And he was freaking laughing because he said, next year I'm going to EVO Japan. I don't want to go to Las Vegas. And another thing was, I have a friend that again, he goes to COF, he goes to Fatal Fury. He's a player. He goes to Frosty, he goes to CEO, he goes to the SNK championships. And he said something interesting too. You know, if I go to the US to these tournaments, I got laughed at me. Even that I can speak, I understand English, I try to whatever, I have a mild accent, I have a thick accent, whatever, I got laughed at it. But when I go to Japan, even if I don't speak Japanese, I feel respected. And again, your comments right now that are in English, a lot of them coming from Canada, coming from the US, Australia, that are pushing about, oh, this is going to destroy the prestige of EVO. The only thing that you are making to the world, and even again Japanese, because in this like taken Discord that we got messages the other day about, hey, do you saw that EVO is going to try to make an event in Mexico? Hey, congrats! You are the only ones that are fighting against it, and you are being pointed out like an spoiled kid. So I just wanted to make this video because I believe that some people are going to understand, and other people, because of their ego, their pride, or their fear, they are never going to understand it. I'm happy that all these places are going to at least try to get an event like this. And another thing that let me tell you something. EVO Japan feels different than EVO Las Vegas, and that's something good, because you have that similar EVO feeling, but that specific EVO Japan, that's something nice too. I cannot wait to see the vibes the feelings of that EVO Brazil, because you don't freaking know how is, for example, in the Comic Con Brazil. I can't wait to see the people from Brazil going to that EVO Brazil to feel how is the vibes just there. I cannot wait to see their faces, how they are going to be smiling, shouting, just to be happy there. And that's going to make EVO Brazil special in their own way. EVO Mexico special in their own way. EVO France special in their own way. Singapore in their own way. Like the Las Vegas, it's their own way. I just wanted to say this.